All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Koyomi Monogatari, Episode 3.
And you know what that probably means. I mean,
Ta-da!
Hachikuji. Yeah.
I've missed her. Like,
I
if we
really
get
missed her.
Hachikuji, I will be very happy. If we don't get her, it means we're probably getting her in the next episode. Like, she'll literally like show up at the end of this episode
No.
and be like, Yararagi-san. And then he'll be like, hey.
But if it ends up being some sort of meta thing by Nishio Isin where it's like, hey, she got lost, or the memory's too painful, so Araragi just doesn't put her in here at this part or something. Like,
oh no, don't do that to me, Jacob. No.
Because, like, the pattern's been established now. We need to see her. It's been a long time.
Yeah. In fact, the only way it doesn't feel like it's been a long time is because literally in the Discord events, there's been so much Hachikuji fan fiction written by a couple of the people there that, like, I feel like I can still...
Kind of like she never left?
Right, it's kind of like she never left, but I also have, like, little random, like, not canon, like,
stories in your head.
Hachikuji dialogue in my head, so this is really, really sweet. But, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, we're going to be starting the episode in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now.
Oh, man. I totally forgot about this OP.
It's like, no, you don't even have to wonder. Just first, like, second, just immediate. Hachikuji's back.
Yeah, this OP is so zany. Oh, man.
It's all Hachikuji.
Yeah. Always has been.
Always has been.
Oh, wow. In that part just recently, it showed her falling into the street.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh. It's gonna be like Spirit Hachikuji helping, like, also Spirit Hachikuji, you know, or something. I've missed her. I've missed her.
Koyomi Sand, like.
Yeah, that's
like Koyomi Sand.
Yeah. Oh, he's like, double take? Wait, what?
Is that
triple take?
Actually, Hachikuji.
Right. Classic. Ah! Oh, good job. Good job. Senjigahara has that effect on some, yeah. What case? Oh, Hachikuji, damn it! Incredible failure.
Wait.
Is that the character from Kaiji?
I think so, yeah. Have you, though? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
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 Ah, darn.
Hmm. Yes, yes, we must talk economics here. Oh, that's nothing. Yeah.
I had a feeling it was going to be something super cheap.
Right. Okay. At least, yeah. Koyomi, he likes sand. Yeah.
Oh.
Hmm. Hmm. Ah. Be very meticulous in order to do that. Boobs. Hmm.
So how does this one tie to Araragi?
Well, they had the tree shadow going over it, so maybe he ended up doing it.
Sure.
Because there has been a recurring theme with that. Oh. Yeah, what's up with that? Interesting. Of course. Yeah, far too rigid.
Which is?
Just a person did it. I just know what I know. Yeah.
I mean, I can totally see Hachikuji doing it to mess with Araragi, but...
Small, minor earthquakes, Yeah. True. You didn't look underneath the sand?
At the tree, maybe? Yeah.
No, the under parts. Yeah, yeah. The container.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
Mm. Look underneath the surface for the potential deterioration. The
Sure. Yeah.
Oh. Oh. It's a cool way of putting it.
Okay.
Cool. I'm just so glad we got Hachikuji back.
Yeah, me too.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
Yeah. Like, even if there was, not that this would actually be the case, but even if there was just no point at all to this episode, you know, as long as, like, if Hachikuji was there, I'd be like, yeah,
Right,
awesome. Good stuff.
It feels like, though, every episode thus far has been about Araragi kind of giving himself an opportunity to look at things from a different perspective.
Right.
And maybe be a little bit more... a little bit less, I would say, a little bit slower to jump to conclusions regarding certain things.
Sure. Well, and whether this is inherent or like pointing at something or just that as a nature of why it's in this section of the story,
right?
All of these are things that Araragi thinks were oddities and then turns out they're not.
Yeah. The ED showing all the characters, meaning we're going to go through each one basically with some kind of mini story. Yeah. That's the part that always wigs me out, though, the way he kind of falls out of the crowd.
And it looks like his head might be separate from his body.
Yeah. We got Hachikuji.
We got Hachikuji.
We got her. We got her back.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's so good.
It felt good. But now it's sad, too, because...
We're probably moving on next episode.
We're going to be moving on next episode, and that's going to be the only little bit we've got with her, and then...
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, he could ask her for advice in a future episode.
True.
About something that's going on there, but I think Hanakawa kind of has that role staked out pretty well.
Yeah, and then other characters would be secondaries before Hachikuji would be.
Yeah, probably.
Because he does come to her for, advice and stuff, but it's oftentimes more like he stumbles into Hachikuji and she ends up giving him really good advice.
Right. And usually it's more personal advice than like advice regarding a specific technical situation he's dealing with.
Yeah.
So here we got another oddity that wasn't an oddity.
Right. And so I think at this point we can just draw the connection that they're basically saying almost like none, maybe eventually, but none
maybe
of
something
these,
with Shinobu or something. But.
Sure, but like none of these are oddities, and that's part of the nature of the show, is that when you look at things a specific way, you realize, oh no, it's actually just nature, or no, it was actually just Araragi that just went and placed it there,
right?
And he didn't want to mention
people
it
at the
or
hospital
forgot about it,
or at the school that wanted to keep people from committing suicide or whatever. And it's. I'm not sure how much that's supposed to be read into, because on the one hand, there's the whole idea of perspective and that Araragi is seeing all these things as being important or special when they're not, but then does the perspective make them that way? That might more be the traditional oddity kind of angle.
Right.
And what are the lessons sort of that Araragi is learning, or at least...
Or remembering,
and these things are kind of revolving around. Because you mentioned, like with the sandbox, the idea of digging beneath the surface and seeing the damage sort of that was there that you might not have realized. You just saw the, you
saw the ripple effects on the surface.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that there is going to be a thematic tie to all these episode kind of little mini stories, in that Araragi is thinking back on these things in the present for a specific reason.
Right.
And I have some reasons that I feel like tie to the reason why we had the thing directly before this being him just about to go do his tests and stuff. It was feeling like, in a lot of ways, an ending beginning to the story.
Even if it wasn't an ending of like if Araragi was in a good place and everything like that and all that stuff, it's still the idea that end of high school, growing up, how do you feel about all that?
Right.
That's something that is going to happen regardless of whether you want it to or not. So thinking back on all the things that have happened that have brought Araragi to that point makes sense.
Yeah. And given that we get, a little bit of time with the characters, that's really fun, because we're really well attached at this point to all the girls, but like some of these characters, like Hachikuji specifically, it hits really close because it's been a while since we've seen them. But not only that, there's this unique type of interaction that they have, specifically Hachikuji in this case, with Araragi, that hasn't been replaced, really.
No.
Like, Hachikuji is gone.
Yep.
And that really bites. So
it does.
So, if we just go next into, Suruga, and then, then Nadeko, okay, cool. But I feel like if Araragi is going to continue kind of thinking back on all these things, and the moments that he thinks back to are interactions with them that centered around something seemingly innocuous, means to me that it might not necessarily be the oddity situation that Araragi's remembering. It's something hidden within the dialogue. It's something actually even more connected through it all, that is in how they interacted with him surrounding this thing. So,
and if it, I think we mentioned in like one of the previous episodes, but if it is something where Araragi is suicidal again, then it makes sense for him to be thinking back on all those connections and relationships that he's had over the years, or over the months, really. For a lot of them, it hasn't been very long. Yeah,
that's the other thing, is that a lot of this is really recent if you think about it in the scope of Araragi's life. Now, for us with the show starts very like slightly before this as far as timeline goes. So this is something that is, a big deal because it's, closer to the beginning of the story. But the fact that all these events don't seem to hold immediate weight means to me that either it's going to become more clear with context as we, see more of them, or it's actually the interactions with the people that's the thing that needs to have the magnifying glass put on it. Because the reason why I brought up the whole sandbox thing specifically is because it felt very much in some ways how I'm looking at Monogatari as a show at times. Is there's a lot of sand that shifts, and there's times where you see a formation and you're like, is that something there? And then you go and dig, check to see if it's there, and you go, oh, there is something there. But it's not something,
right, it might not be what it originally seemed, or...
Right. It's just a simple problem that needs to be, fixed or solved. And a lot of the conflict has been about people's character issues, internal ones, that need to be addressed. And I felt like this one has some very cool, pretty immediate kind of contained interpretations that could work. Let me see what you think about these. There's the one of, if Araragi's not doing well, when you check to see if you're not doing well, you look at the surface stuff immediately.
Sure.
Because that will give you the clues. And then if there is something there that looks a little bit odd, you go and dig to see the root cause of it. And then when you find the root cause of it, you then consult a specialist and say, hey, I need some help, or I need you to help me take care of this.
Right.
But what I liked here is that this was something that, because this is a sandbox, this has nothing to do with a person necessarily, Araragi leaves it to the professionals. Araragi, instead of being the one that feels like I have to solve this because it's an oddity and I'm, got things like my debt and all this other stuff and my, desire to, take responsibility for the things that are happening around me. Instead, it's a thing of, no, I'm just going to call up the person who manages the park and they'll handle it. It'll be good.
Right.
It felt like it felt very apropos in that regard.
One of the things that I can't remember if I've clued into this before and I just forgot that I clued into this or whatever, but the idea that like, oh yeah, Oshino, he's a smart guy. And if he saw that Araragi was maybe not doing too well, then that, is a reason for the debt, right? Because he knows that Araragi's a good boy and he won't leave something unpaid.
Okay.
Right? And then Oshino ends up not sort of being needed anymore because that's not what will essentially keep Araragi around, and then he ends up leaving because Araragi's got friends and things like that at that point.
Okay.
Where he can kind of stand on his own. I don't know if that's intentional or anything like that, but that's just the connection I saw.
Sure.
Given that we're in this situation with Araragi and going through all these, smaller stories, like, I feel like it's something that's helping me remember just how short of a story this is, because there's so many episodes, right? But it's still just a year. Like,
are you talking about short within the context of the chronological timeline?
Chronological timeline.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Like the idea that from Kizu to where we are now, it's been basically a year, a little bit less, right?
Right.
And granted, we've gone to points like, way back when with Oikura and things like that. But
I think what it also might be is that the timeline of the earlier story beats is also over an extremely short period of time. Like, it's a very condensed section of time with little time skips here and there. But as you go later into the story, there's more gaps specifically. So that it feels like it could be longer when it's still actually quite short.
And given Araragi's situation, it would make sense that when he's in more dire straits, then you go into more like sort of quick time event, equivalent where we need to see exactly more of the day-to-day of how he's doing. And then once he's getting into a bit more of a stable place, then you can have those time skips because Araragi himself is more stable.
Yeah, and that seems like something that will become more and more impactful as we move closer to the present, given that this is moving linearly, like strictly thus far. So since we have 3 different events, that's a pattern. So now we have things moving forward, means that by the time this ends, we'll kind of be caught back up to where we are at, probably in some way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that makes me wonder how well Araragi's actually doing, because, and maybe this is because of the jumping around in the timeline or things like that, but because it's just been less than a year, it makes it seem way less like, Araragi's beat this, and maybe that's just because of how the before Koyomi stuff left off. But I don't know.
In an interesting kind of additive to that, there was an aspect of the beginning of this episode where he's bringing up, Oshino's leaving, talking with Hanakawa. In some ways, we're seeing maybe one of the more mature ways Araragi has kind of handled these types of situations.
Okay.
Because he kept asking for help. He was willing and able to let go of a specific thing. And in some ways, it's kind of weird because of the time kind of jumping back and forth through things and not having it be as linear and stuff. But Araragi has grown quite a bit. And it's kind of a cool way to look back at this and go, oh, do you remember how he was in early Bake? Like,
sure.
Yeah, he was definitely a good kid. And he had a lot of ways to grow. But, like, he has grown a lot since then. So this is something where we get to see, what ways is he similar and what ways is he different?
Yeah.
Because in a lot of ways, I would say he is almost night and day, completely different from early back then. And then in a couple other areas, actually, that part has always remained the same. Araragi is Araragi,
Yeah.
Tautology at its finest.
Yeah.
Yararagi is Araragi.
This episode was fairly substantially shorter than the previous ones.
True.
Which hurt just a little bit because, that's less time with Hachikuji.
Because our time with Hachikuji was short.
Yeah, maybe that was some sort of...
Was it always this short?
Yeah,
always.
Well, Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's also the idea of like, I don't know, maybe I'm reading into this too much. But the idea of Hachikuji coming in after the previous episode being about suicide, like specifically, you know?
Oh, uh-huh.
And then here's this person that Araragi lost that was very much a cherished connection that was cut short. It feels like that might be a connective tissue. Maybe I'm reaching way too far.
I think you're reaching really far because Hachikuji's theme, I don't think, was ever really about suicide.
No. But I'm saying the idea that was a loss that Araragi experienced, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the idea that if this is dealing with some sort of final, battle with Araragi's battle with suicide, then the fact that in the episode that dealt with suicide, on the very next one, we then get to see the person that Araragi has missed. I don't know. Like,
okay, yeah.
But that's probably reading too much.
There might be
into it.
something in there. Yeah, I didn't get that really, but I definitely see the theme of death, at least in some regard, loss and finality, being something that this is, if anything, a build-up for. Like we had Owari, and as the end. Now we're having the recap of the beginning,
right?
Which is like something that you very often do in build-up to the end, but we've already had the end.
And then we've had
or have we?
Because that wasn't really the end. It was thematically kind of part of the end, but then we've seen things past the actual, what I'm assuming is the end.
Yeah. So this is just a fun way, I think, for us to get a larger and deeper rooted foundation. Tree puns. Hey. Yeah. I did like the shadow imagery that they've been using more and more recently in Monogatari. And there were a couple moments when Araragi was having some monologues or just some internal thoughts. And they kept using shadows of specific things, either him or trees, where it was like, okay, I see what you're doing there. That's cool. I don't know exactly why necessarily, but,
right?
But I saw that. That was cool.
This is one of those things where it makes me really want to read the light novels specifically for this part to see what was there, because for previous stuff, it was always the idea of, okay, the fact that Shaft was able to actually consolidate it and adapt it into a visual, one episode here and, like an actual episode structure blew me away, right? The fact that these episodes are mini episodes, what was it like in the light novels? Probably
like chapters.
Also, shorter and probably just chapters.
Just chapters, But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there, and any level of support gets you access to our Discord, where you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and you can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Battle Lines. Yep, it's awesome, and it's a sci-fi novel, and it's on Amazon. Link in the description down below.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.